Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Kiefer's Crypto Corner. So, with Bitcoin currently blowing up right now in terms of price and in terms of its status in the zeitgeist of our society, you're probably wondering either what is Bitcoin, or you're the Bitcoin guy in your social group and everybody is constantly asking you what the hell is Bitcoin. I know that I've had to explain what Bitcoin is to everybody in my social group. And by social group, I mean the one friend that I haven't completely alienated yet. There's a good reason for this. Cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, it's a very abstract and complex thing. So, of course, it's difficult to understand or difficult to explain. I've had to explain Bitcoin a bunch of times, and so far, this is the best sort of explanation I've been able to come up with that is both accessible and not completely wrong. Because I find that a lot of times when people are trying to explain Bitcoin, they either completely just say, oh, it's magical internet money, and completely betray the concept of Bitcoin, or they go into far too much detail and completely lose their audience. And so with this explanation, I'm trying to strike the balance between it being accessible and understandable, but also not betraying the spirit of what the technology is. Okay, so here we go. So someone asks you, what is Bitcoin and how does it work? Bitcoin is basically internet money with no central bank or no central organization maintaining it. It sort of runs on a peer-to-peer network. The way it works is that there's a blockchain, which is basically a database of all of the transactions that have ever occurred in Bitcoin. And there is Bitcoin mining, which is the process by which new transactions are added to the blockchain, aka this database, and also new Bitcoin is created. Every user of Bitcoin has a copy of this Bitcoin blockchain database thing. The reason why everybody has a copy of this blockchain is so that nobody can defraud the system. So if somebody tries to send you, 10 Bitcoin that they don't own, you'll be able to look at the blockchain and see that, hey, this guy doesn't own this Bitcoin, and so I'm not going to accept the transaction. And so you can't just spend Bitcoin that you don't have, you can't spend cryptocurrency that you don't have. So let's take an analogy, let's take an example. So say some stranger hands you a check for $200. How do you know that this check is valid? You don't. The only way you can know is by taking it to the bank and giving it to the teller, and then they take the check and then they look through their database eventually and determine whether the account that is being drawn from has a valid amount of money in it. If it's all good, then they can add that transaction to their database and move the money from the person's account to your account. But you have to rely on the authority of the bank in order to process the transactions and do everything. With Bitcoin, it would kind of be like if you had access to the entire database of the bank in your pocket. So when the person handed you that check, you could just verify it on your own with your little database to see if that the transaction was valid. So with Bitcoin, you don't need the bank because everyone is able to check if a transaction is valid or not. And instead of the bank adding the transaction to their database, Bitcoin miners are the ones who add transactions to the blockchain, which is also a decentralized mechanism. So that's basically what I've come up with as a decent explanation that doesn't betray the nature of Bitcoin, but is also can be made within the matter of a few minutes. I'm aware that I'm skipping over basically all of the nuance in Bitcoin, like the fact that almost nobody uses a full node for their Bitcoin wallet, and things like that. The exact mechanism of Bitcoin mining I've completely skipped over, but I think it doesn't betray the spirit of the technology, and I think it's simple enough that most people can understand. If you can't understand what a database is and what a check is, then I imagine they probably don't know what Bitcoin is or what a computer is. So there's bigger gaps in their knowledge that are more important to fill in. Please comment and tell me what you think the best simple explanation of Bitcoin is, because for all I know, there could be one that's 10 times better than the one that I've just given you. And as we all know, the real answer is always in the comments. So really just ignore this video and go look at the comments, and I'm sure someone's given a better answer than what I've just given you. So yeah, thanks for watching, and catch you next time.